All right, so this picture is in your, you got to know it all year long notes as well. This is your biological hierarchy. And you'll notice at the top of your sheet, it says both biotic matter, which is living matter, and abiotic matter, which is non-living matter, is composed of atoms. So that might be a good place to put the word again, or the underline the A, and make yourself a note that putting A in front of something makes it mean not or the opposite. Okay, so non-living. And that tells you some other things there. So to just quickly look at this picture, you would start down in the bottom left-hand corner here with, first you would deal with atoms, okay, that we can see here, an oxygen atom and a hydrogen atom making up a molecule. So those two terms, just atom and molecule, are not specifically shown separately as far as a separate picture. And then we get to macromolecule, and then organelle, cell, tissue, et cetera, going all the way around here. But notice down here in the bottom left-hand corner, I put a little box that says biome. And so that's one that is not shown on this particular picture. And so that being said, I'm going to switch this. You're going to use this just, again, as a point of reference. But this is something that you need to tie to these terms here. Okay, so atom, which you should have learned in middle school, is the basic unit of matter, and then those make up molecules, okay, groups of atoms bonded together. And so we're going to talk about molecules from a biological standpoint. We don't get into a ton of the chemistry. That's the smallest unit of a compound. We've already talked about cells, the smallest unit capable of all life functions. Groups of cells that make up the same, or of the same type, they're going to carry out the same function and make up a tissue. Okay, then tissues that carry out the same function make up number 5, an organ. And then groups of organs that work together and have similar functions, they make up an organ system. And I just realized similar is misspelled there. It should be SIMILIAR. But that being said, okay, groups of organs that carry out similar functions make up an organ system. And then all of the functioning organ systems within the body make up the individual organism. Okay, and so we could talk about a group of organisms being a species, right? But we're going to shift gears a little bit and talk about groups of organisms being in a population. Okay, so a population is a group of organisms of the same species that are living in the same place at the same time. And that's a really important qualification. Okay, so all people are members of the human species, okay? But for right now, if you are a student in Hoover City Schools and live in Hoover, you're a member of the population of Hoover, okay? So I didn't grow up in Hoover. I grew up in Alpharetta, Georgia. And so when I was growing up, I was a member of the population of Alpharetta, Georgia. But now I'm a member of the population of Hoover, okay? So you got to talk about same place and same time to qualify a population. And then if you take a group of different populations and put them together and they're interacting in nature, then that makes up a community. And again, we're talking same area and same time. So within the forest in your backyard, if you think about the trees and squirrels, the birds that fly through, the insects, the mushrooms that live there, then that's the community in your backyard. Then communities, this is all of the populations or communities within an area, and the abiotic factors in the area. So when we think about abiotic factors, we're talking about a body of water, okay, within a landmass. We're talking about rocks. We're talking about soil type. We're talking about temperature, humidity, all types of things that make up and define an ecosystem. Then a biome, that's a group of similar terrestrial ecosystems with the same climate and predominant communities. Okay, so we need to talk about what makes up climate. So climate's made of two things. Okay, it's temperature and precipitation over the course of the year. All right, so you might want to write that down, that climate is made of temperature and precipitation. Okay, it's not the same thing as weather. So when we talk about weather, we're talking about a day-to-day occurrence. How hot is it? How humid is it? Is it raining? Is it snowing? Whatever it happens to be. Okay, but climate, we look at climate as far as what's happening over the course of the year as far as temperature and precipitation. And then predominant, that means what are the main communities? What are the main types of organisms that live in an area? So for example, here, when trees lose their leaves in the fall, and they're deciduous trees, that's a different type of community than in the taiga, for example, that are dominated by coniferous species like pines and spruces and firs that retain their leaves all year long. Okay, so predominant just means main. Okay, it's not like top of the food chain. And then the biosphere is all of the Earth's biomes and aquatic ecosystems. So when we talk about this, just notice says it's terrestrial as far as what a biome is. The aquatic ecosystems, essentially, they go at the same level with biomes. So that's ocean, your lakes and ponds, streams and rivers, and then estuaries, basically. Those are your aquatic ecosystems, and they would be at the same level with a biome.